This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Now, straight out of the gate, let me clarify real quick that this is not a pro or anti Eddie Hearn video. Okay, this is just me giving my honest opinion on how I see British boxing and what it is that Eddie Hearn has done for British boxing and Anthony Joshua, and of course, what would it be without him in it. Now, ever since Anthony Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz Jr, I see like a lot of comments, and I see YouTubers who are currently or who were pro Eddie Hearn and pro Anthony Joshua now very anti Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua over one loss, and saying how Eddie Hearn is now ruined. Matchroom is on the slide now. Sky Sports need to get rid of Eddie Hearn. And I have to ask you, I mean, if you're a British uploader, why would you be celebrating that? Why would you want that to happen? I don't understand. I mean, why can't you just support Joshua, Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, Dave Allen, Kid Galahad, Josh Warrington, and so on and so on? Why can't you support all of them? Why do you have to have a hatred towards Eddie Hearn? Now, on some uploaders, I can see quite plainly what it is. And listen, on anybody who hates on Eddie Hearn, especially if you're British, there is a motive behind it. You can see what it is. It's because they were born, as in Eddie Hearn was born, with money, and they weren't. They see it as some kind of envy, which is kind of sad, really, isn't it? They see Eddie Hearn as a snake. He's a liar. He's a celebrity wannabe. Maybe he is. Who knows? Ultimately, is he putting on shows? Yes. Is he putting on good shows? Yes. All the time? No. Now, we could certainly argue that he has let UK-based shows slide. That is for sure, ever since he joined up with DAZN. I don't think there's any real argument with that one. It's not like his shows are as quality now in the UK as what they once were. But we do know that this is a transitional period. We're not even 1 year into his new venture with DAZN. Of course, he wants to be promoting boxing around the world, not just UK-based. Yes, his tune has changed. Okay, before DAZN, everything was about UK this and UK that. UK is the home of boxing, blah, blah, blah. Fighters have to come here and etc., etc. He gets his DAZN deal. Suddenly, well, no, actually, the Brits should have to go over to America. And yes, the narrative just does change for him. Is that a little two-faced? Certainly. It fits his narrative. Of course it does. But ultimately, the point is, if Eddie Hearn wasn't doing shows in Britain anymore, so if Sky Sports did get rid of Eddie Hearn, what's the alternative? Because you have to remember now, if Eddie Hearn is just going to concentrate now on America because he doesn't have a Sky Sports contract anymore, so he's just going to concentrate on America. He's getting a new venture into China to be doing shows in Germany, in Mexico, in Canada, and wherever else. What's going to happen to the UK? Because all the Matchroom fighters, probably with the exception of Dillian Whyte and one or two others who have a fight-by-fight deal where they could just switch sides, they could just do whatever. But there are some that are tied in to contracts with Eddie Hearn. Remember, they're tied into Eddie Hearn and Matchroom. They're not tied into Sky Sports. So wherever he goes, they go. So some people will find that brilliant. Some people, yeah, excellent. So we don't have any more Sky Sports pay-per-views. Brilliant. Well, in my mind, it's only 20 quid. But listen, if 20 quid is a lot of money to people who don't have 20 quid. So again, I fully get that. But you don't have to buy the pay-per-view. It's the first one. And for those who moan a lot about Eddie Hearn, it seems to be that they have some kind of agenda where they're favouring the likes of everyone else but Anthony Joshua. Listen, I'm not here to say because you're British, you have to like Eddie Hearn and you have to like Joshua. I'm not saying that at all. Not at all. You like who you like and you don't like who you don't like. But to wish that Eddie Hearn would leave UK boxing after one loss from Anthony Joshua, that's ridiculous. And you're celebrating this, and you're British, and you're celebrating this. Joshua, let's be honest, without Joshua, how popular would boxing be in the UK? And we're not just talking about what he's doing in his own career. It has a knock-on effect for all other ones. Lots of fighters are getting a lot of exposure by being on his cards. It's irrelevant how much money that they're getting, whatever, but they're getting exposure on his cards. He's talking about them in other interviews. They're talking about Lawrence Okoli, talk about Lewis Ritson, Josh Kelly. They're talking about Ted Cheeseman, Conor Benn, Callum Johnson, Callum Smith, now Liam Smith, and so on and so on. So without Joshua, where would British boxing be? Without Eddie Hearn, where would British boxing be? So for all those of you who are wishing that Eddie Hearn would just leave, again, I'm going to have to ask you this question. Why? Why? How about don't watch his shows? How about just watch what you want to watch? If you just like Frank Warren shows, cool. Nobody has an issue with that. For me, I will watch as much of the boxing as I possibly can. It's actually a myth where people say, Sport and Icons, you're on the Matchroom payroll. Sport and Icons, you're too pro Eddie Hearn, you're too pro Matchroom. No, I big up the fight and the event that I like. I have criticised Eddie Hearn before. I have criticised Joshua before. I have criticised his shows before. But more often than not, I will praise them because he does more good shows than he does bad shows. With Frank Warren, he's done more bad shows than he has done good ones. But lately, Frank Warren is starting to come through. He's closing the gap now. He's starting to put on some very, very good events. Finally, all the talk where he's talking about how BT Sport are now funding this and we're going to be doing this, that and the other. And it seemed like it just weren't happening. But now he is actually starting to put on these shows and he is closing the gap. And it's a good opportunity for him to do this while Eddie Hearn's head is turned towards America, trying to crack it over there. Thing is, I don't think he'll ever crack it over there because he's never going to really be wanted over there. Not by the masses, of course not. Why? Because he's not American. So while his venture is looking elsewhere, obviously he's been looking at China, Germany, etc., etc. This is a good opportunity for Frank Warren to close the gap, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. So big up Frank Warren, and I hope it continues because I want him to put the pressure on. Because as of right now, it seems that on Sky Sports we're getting predominantly next-gen cards, which, to be honest with you, I like next-gen cards, but it kind of gets to a point where I'm getting a little tired of that's all we're getting. Is this what I'm paying for my Sky Sports subscription? For example, I like Conor Benn, and I believe Conor Benn will I hope he will go on to become a world champion one day. But based on his recent performances, to put him on as a headliner soon makes me scratch my head and go, is this what we're now relegated to? And again, this isn't me being disrespectful to Conor Benn, not at all. But is this what we're being relegated to now? So I can certainly understand people getting frustrated. But to wish that he goes, so if he goes and all his fighters go with him, what have we got left? If you all remember, when Barry Hearn left, Frank Warren took over, right? Frank Warren was the king of British boxing. What did he do with it? He took his foot off the gas and people lost interest in boxing because he had no competition around him. So if Eddie Hearn leaves, Frank Warren is back to having no competition, right? That's not good for boxing. It really isn't. So those people who are celebrating and jumping up and down that Anthony Joshua lost and you're British, personally I find you very, very sad and pathetic, to be honest with you. There's nothing wrong with supporting Tyson Fury and making him your favourite, or making Dean White your favourite, or making Dave Allen your favourite, or whatever. You can favour whoever it is that you want to favour, but to hate on another one of your fellow Brits is, for me, a little bit disturbing. People can say, yeah, but we don't care about nationality. You don't? Okay, so when you watch the football, do you cheer on England, or do you cheer on Germany, if you're British? You see, there's your answer right there, isn't it? But if Eddie Hearn left, what are we left with? We're going to be left with some of the small hall shows. Do you really want to be watching some of them? Do you want them to be replacing on Sky Sports? Are you going to carry on with your Sky Sports subscription? If, for example, David Hay got given the reins of Sky Sports and he can put on shows, he doesn't have the stable to do it. David Hay's more a manager now. Mick Hennessy, listen, he could do it. Mick Hennessy has the experience. But Mick Hennessy, again, doesn't have the stable. Maybe look a little bit further north. Steffi Bull, again, doesn't have the stable. In my opinion, Steffi Bull is the best promoter in the Yorkshire-Sheffield area. You could probably look at Dennis Hobson from the same kind of area. Dennis Hobson, hell to the no. No. Once upon a time, you could probably go, yeah, maybe, because he was nearly the man. But nowadays, not even close to it. He's a small hall promoter. That's what he is. He has a couple of decent fighters on his books. Tommy Frank, I rate Tommy Frank. But if things don't improve, I can see Tommy Frank jumping ship, much like many other fighters have jumped ship. After that, who have you really got? Josh Whale? Josh Whale is a journeyman That doesn't know he's a journeyman yet. It just hasn't computed to him yet. But Josh, well, you're a journeyman, man. I'm sorry, but you are. You'll never be anything more than that. So Dennis Hobson cannot do it. If he's given a budget, listen, he could do a little bit better. But it seems that he's just too nice with his fighters, to be honest. Look at other ones. Barry McGuigan, Cyclone Promotions. Again, outside of Josh Taylor, what's he really got? And it goes on and on and on. So my point is, how can you really wish that Eddie Hearn would leave? Because most of you uploaders out there who have channels and you're from Britain, you probably only have channels because boxing is interesting. Why is boxing interesting now? Because of Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. It's got nothing to do whether or not you like him. Who cares if you like him? I can't say I'm totally convinced by myself. Likewise, he's not totally convinced about me himself either. We're not friends. We're just not. Is he arrogant? Yeah, he is. Did he have every right to be arrogant? To a point. But no, it's not really a deeming factor of you liking somebody, is it? Fact is he putting on good shows? And the answer is yes. Does he know how to promote and sell a show? Yes, that's his job. His job is to speak. His job is to put out there, we have this show and you should come watch it. It's a great show. He's not going to put on a show and say, well, if I were you, I wouldn't bother watching this one. To be honest with you, I don't really like this show. He ain't going to do that, is he? So what is it that you want? Again, people criticise Eddie Hearn and say, you've got some of his fighters fighting these people that we've never heard of before. Why is he putting them in fights with these people? We don't want to see that. Okay, then so we'll put him in against this person for a world title. Well, why are you putting him in there with this world title for? Do you see? He's never going to win. If it's not a world title fight or somebody that you've heard of, then it's a bum fight and you ain't watching it and it's pointless. But he puts him in for a world title fight or somebody you've heard of. Well, it's a complete mismatch. He's throwing his fighters under the bus is what he's doing. So, you see, there's no winning with it. And a lot of these people seem to be, when you hear some of their videos, it's because Eddie Hearn has money. And they don't. It's pretty sad, isn't it? To hate somebody because they were born into money. Wouldn't you wish you were born into money? Isn't it a case of his parents did the right thing by him? By bringing him into a world where they were already being successful? The likes of me and many of you guys, did our parents fail us in that category? Maybe. But would you hate somebody because they've got money? It just seems very, very petty. Do you hate somebody because maybe he screwed over one of your favourite promoters? But, again, did he screw you over? Not really. So, the alternative is if Eddie Hearn does leave Sky Sports, what are the alternatives? You do have some very good promoters out there, like Al Siesta. Very good promoter. He helps put on the undercards and that for the World Boxing Super Series. He puts on shows in Bracknell. He's got a show end of this month in Bracknell as well. He could do it. Again, he would need the budget. So there are alternatives to Eddie Hearn. But Eddie Hearn, he doesn't just have the stable. He has the foghorn. He has the microphone. He knows how to sell a show. People say, but... because of the EIS, the lottery-funded gym there in Sheffield, he has first pickings of the GB squad coming through, right? Okay, why are you mad about that? If Eddie Hearn didn't do it, somebody else would. This is dog eat dog, isn't it? Yeah, okay, so Anthony Joshua trains there. Should he? No, probably not, to be fair. Joshua has enough money to open up his own gym. Rob McCracken is predominantly an amateur trainer. As in, he trains the amateurs. Joshua is sparring amateurs. Is that really helping him? Not really. Does Eddie Hearn get first dibs on the people that come through because of Rob McCracken and that? Yeah, maybe. But as I said, if he weren't doing it, somebody else would. So again, this is Eddie Hearn making sure his business survives. What is wrong with that? Ultimately, should we care? Not really. When you've got promoters there in Sheffield who could have done this a long time ago, but didn't do it. And want to claim, yeah, but it's not right. Well, on your face be it. Dog eat dog, right? It is what it is. Wishing for the demise of Eddie Hearn as a boxing fan. Come on now. This is ridiculous. What would British boxing be if Eddie Hearn took all these fighters and just put them abroad? We don't get DAZN in this country. Potentially, if Sky Sports did release Eddie Hearn, maybe that would open up the floodgates for DAZN to come on in. If they did, ping ping, sign me up, baby. No problem. I would love to pay £10 a month for DAZN. Yes, I would bid off Sky Sports. No problem. I only have Sky Sports for boxing. For the football, not really. My team, Newcastle United, is a 5-minute car drive just down the bottom of the road there. So, no, I don't really need Sky Sports. So, if Sky Sports was stupid enough to get rid of Eddie Hearn, hey, is what it is. If that means that DAZN is going to come through, no problem. Excellent stuff. So, again, be careful what you wish for, okay? Because if Sky Sports do get rid of Eddie Hearn, you could celebrate, you could insult Anthony Joshua. Again, are you patriotic? I mean, what's your agenda? When Tyson Fury had the keys, when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, what did he do? He flushed those keys down the toilet through his own admission. His fault. Nobody else's, but his fault. Nobody forced him to put drugs in his body. Nobody forced him to do that. But he did it. Listen, we have the likes of Dillian Whyte. He's making huge waves right now. Could he replace Anthony Joshua? Maybe. Maybe he's been held back a little bit because of Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua. Maybe if Dillian Whyte went to Frank Warren or another promoter, maybe he'd become a huge superstar. We don't know. But fact is, more people know Matchroom fighters. Why? Because of Eddie Hearn. So just be careful what you wish for. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it all. It seems to me it's stupidity that people will base things on whether or not they like a promoter. It's ridiculous. And if you're British, in my opinion, you should be supporting Joshua. You should be supporting Tyson Fury and Dillian Whyte and everybody and not hating on them all. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it all. You drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.